I had an idea when I was driving here that I thought it'd be another good opportunity to do a question and answer segment. So I filmed a real quick video, posted it on the A-Bomb 79 Facebook page, and asked people, if you got a question, leave a comment and maybe I'll be able to answer a few questions along the way. So another good way to connect with you guys, since I'm not in the shop actually doing any work, we can talk about whatever it is on your mind. So I've got a few questions in so far, and the first one was, do I have any vacations planned outside of the U.S.? Right now I have no vacations planned outside of the U.S., but I will say that I do look forward to venturing outside of the U.S. and visiting other areas in the future. I don't know when that's going to be. Hopefully within the next year or two. Yeah, hopefully within a couple years I'll get to go somewhere, and I don't know where that's going to be. I really have no idea. I've got other friends that I've made across the world, and I would definitely love to be able to go and visit some other people as well. I know that I would like, as far as places I'd like to go, I don't have any specific locations. I would love to go to Australia, and so if I go to Australia, I'll probably plan to see Bruce. And I'd love to go to Germany. I think it'd be great to go there and experience Germany. Always seems like it'd be a cool place to go. And definitely Europe, somewhere in Europe. I have no idea where, but so those are a couple of places that I think would be neat to go see. And there's other places probably worth going to visit too, but so far no immediate plans, but it is something that I've thought about and something that I would like to do. So there was another question. The next question that was asked was, since I'm on the road here to learn scraping, they want to know, what are the benefits of scraping? There's a lot of people that are watching this channel that probably have no idea what scraping is. So, and it's something that I'm learning about, by the way. So I really, all I know so far is what I've read in Richard's book. I've read about half of his book, and he sends out a DVD for the guys that take the course. I've watched his DVD, and it's just a basic introduction to it. So there are several benefits to scraping, and I'm going to try to explain a couple of them. Scraping is great for a bearing surface. I don't think it's necessarily for a flat surface that you're trying to indicate on, but a flat, true parallel bearing surface. For example, the ways on a lathe and the carriage that slides across it. So those are your two bearing surfaces, and you want those flat and straight. The benefit of scraping over just a straight grind is you try to have equal bearing surfaces, contact areas, and also areas for lubrication. So it's points of contact and also the little holes and valleys in there that hold the oil. So whenever you hand scraping, you're trying to get 50% contact, for every square inch that you're scraping in. And I believe it's 20 points per inch is what we're going to be learning, and that's and you want 50% contact. So you want half of your surface carrying the load. So say the saddle on the ways, you want 50% of that metal carrying the load, and you want the other 50% evenly distributed, holding oil for lubrication. One of the things that I've learned from Richard just by watching his video is wear on a machine, like it's very typical to seeing it on the ways or on the ways of a milling machine. You see scoring in there and you see wear, and he says that's not necessarily because dirt has gotten up in there, dirt and dust. There's another Challenger, another black Challenger coming up next to me right there. But anyway, that's not just from dirt and dust getting in there. It's actually from not having enough lubrication, which that's an important part of the work that I am in is lack of lubrication causing metal to metal contact and causing wear and corrosion and things like that. So that's some of the benefits right there. And I'll point this out too. Some of the other benefits of hand scraping something versus grinding something on a machine. Whenever you have to hold a part on a machine, you're either using it with mechanical clamping clamps, like strap clamps, hold down clamps, or you're using a magnetic chuck. And anytime you use one of those types of fixturing devices, you're actually pulling something down flat. So if your part, let's just picture a parallel, a rectangular bar. Even though it looks like it's perfectly square, there may be a little bit of a twist in it. It may not be flat across one plane. So if you put that on a magnetic chuck and you turn the magnetic poles on and it sucks it down, it's going to twist it straight on that bottom side. You do your grinding, and then when you relieve the magnetic force, the twist comes back into it. That's one of the things you have to deal with whenever you're trying to get things flat. Same thing if you clamp on something. John Saunders just experienced that whenever he was trying to mill his two parallels that he had casted for the scraping class. Is that he was trying to hold it down, and it would twist it, and then when he would let the clamps off, the twist would come back and it wouldn't be flat. So whenever you hand scrape something, typically there is no other forces on it. You just have it sitting on a table, or the machine sitting on the floor, or you have it very lightly clamped in like a mill vise on a bench. So that's one of the things to take in consideration also is for hand scraping, is that you're not relying on another machine to make a flat surface. You're relying on a master, which would be a granite table or another straight edge of some sort that's already been scraped flat to use as your master edge. So I hope that answered your question. More to come on that later as I learn the scraping class. So there was another question here. So somebody asked me, how do I prevent rust on my machines? And that can be tools, anything bare metal in the shop. So the best way for me, and I know this isn't feasible for everybody, but climate control, an air conditioner. That is one of the best ways to level out the humidity levels inside of a shop. Just like in your home and business, usually you have air conditionings and it's comfortable in there. Well, let me tell you something, guys. I think that a air conditioner is a great investment for a shop. May not be for everybody depending on what kind of condition your shop is in, but air conditioners are great. They keep the humidity under control and keeps the moisture levels down, and you're more comfortable also. You're not hot. In some cases, you're not freezing cold, and you can work a lot more comfortably with climate control than if it's just 100 degrees and 100% humidity in your shop. So that's one way to do it. So besides that, if you're looking for something else like a chemical, I like to use a couple products. The main one that I used is called Bow Shield. It's actually called T9 by Bow Shield, and it comes in an aerosol can. So you spray it on your part, and it's a real wet, oily substance that you spray out on there. And what it does is that it kind of dries, but as it dries, it leaves a film of oil, thick, tacky type oil on your part. And that's what it's for, is to prevent rusting and keep moisture off of the bare metal surfaces. So T9 Bow Shield is a great product. I know there's any kind of fluid film is basically the same thing. There's a brand out there called Fluid Film, and for real heavy applications, like say a long-term storage, if you're going to have something stored and not used for a very long time, best one to recommend is by LPS, and it's LPS 3. That is like, it's almost like Cosmoline, but it's to me it's better than Cosmoline. So it's also very thick, almost a waxy type substance, and you can get it in an aerosol as well, and you spray it on your part and you leave it there. It still stays kind of wet where you can wipe it off, but that'll prevent rust on surfaces for a very long time. That's what we put on our bare metal shafts on like gearboxes, any kind of output shaft that's sticking outside of the box, where say a coupling or a sprocket or any kind of hub is going to mount on there once it gets to the location. We buy LPS in a big gallon container and just pour a little bit out in a cup, and we use a brush and we brush it on the shaft and the keyway and then let it dry, and that prevents the bare metal surfaces from rusting as it's being sent out to the customer. So there's a couple products to keep in mind. Get you some of that and spray it on your stuff and just let it sit. If you got to use it, then wipe the stuff off, use your parts, and then when you get done, spray it down again and let it sit. If you're talking about like the ways on your machines, like your lathe and your mill, and that stuff that you use like every single day just about, then I would say WD-40 is a good product to use for that. Just get you a good mist bottle and just spray it all down and keep it wet all the time. You know, you go in for the day, wet it all down, come back the next day, you're good to go. So there you go. There's a couple products you can try out. Can I understand what John Mills is talking about? Oh, I'm sorry. That made me laugh right there. I can usually understand what he's talking about. But he is great to listen to, I tell you that. So here's an interesting question that I got was, how much hate mail do I get through personal messages, emails, or comments? I gotta say that something that I've learned throughout the whole YouTube universe is that we got a great little community out there, and I've heard other people mention the same thing. We got a pretty good group of like-minded people that are respectful of each other. We do have a few bad seeds out there. We get some people, there are some people out there that just don't give a damn what they say to you or how they treat you or your feelings anyway, yours or anybody else's feelings. But I gotta say that I think we got it pretty good, at least on my channel. I get a few negative criticism comments out there and people just being rude, but I don't get a whole lot of them. And I try not to take that stuff very personal. I don't. I try to ignore it. I really like to focus my efforts when I spend my time in front of the computer and responding to you, the viewer, and your comments and questions. I try to respond to all of the positive feedback out there, not the negative feedback. That's one of the things to try to, some advice that I can give to anybody is to try to ignore all the negativity, all the hate, and focus on the positive, the stuff that really matters. So every now and then I'll get somebody that is just downright rude, or they're saying something just completely out of line. And there's very, very few times that I ever delete a comment, but it does happen. Sometimes I'll read something and I'll say, that's just messed up. I'm not even going to respond, and I'll delete it because I don't think other people need to be reading that stuff either. So, but I try not to ever delete, even when we get into controversy and people are kind of going back and forth talking about stuff. I try to leave that discussion open for everybody and not try to hide it, But if you get a little out of line, if you say something rude, or if you're cussing me out, or insults is the big thing. I don't like to be insulted. I do start taking that kind of stuff personal. So if you're out there slinging insults at me or other people, then I'll just delete the comment. And there's been a few people that's been banned on my channel. There's been very few, but there has been a few people that's banned on my channel just because they don't know how to act, But we don't need that kind of stuff out there, guys. We're all there to learn and share with each other. And I've tried to explain this to other people. If there's something that I don't like on YouTube, I move on. I don't worry about it. I don't leave a comment. I don't leave a thumbs up. I don't leave a thumbs down. I just move on. I move on to something that I would rather watch, something that really excites me, So I don't really get the guys that want to complain about what's in the videos, what I'm sharing on videos, or things like that. You know, they want to gripe about some things. Maybe that's just me. I know not everybody's the same, but maybe that's just me. I just move on. If there's something that doesn't look like it's exciting to watch, I don't watch it. I just move on to the next guy and watch another video. I don't expect everybody to enjoy all of my content. Everything that I make can't be perfect, but I just share with you what I do on the day and week basis. That's all it is. So some weeks might be a little more exciting. Some weeks may be a little more boring. That's just how it goes. But back to the original comment, though, is that I don't get a whole lot of hate mail. I really don't. I don't really get any hate mail, like emails. There was one or two that came in. I remember back whenever we did that video where Tom made that little joke contraption, the cooler that popped, that when I opened it up, the silly string come out. I had one guy leave me a really screwed up email telling me how wrong he and I both were for doing that, and we're setting a bad example and stuff like that. Man, it was just way out of line, you know. But there's been very few. I can't think of any others really, but there has been a couple like that. So you're always going to get somebody that doesn't agree with what you do, no matter what. You know, there'll be 10,000 people that think you do a good job, and there'll be that one guy that thinks you're a jerk for showing something. So it's just part of it. You have to take the bad with the good, and luckily for us is that I think 99% of what we get out there is all good and all positive. So another question that come in was, do I plan on adding on to the shop? And I'll say that I do have wants and wishes to add on to my shop. I've actually got several plans of things that I'm trying to do around my property that I hope to get done this year. I'm just going to work on a little at a time as I can afford it. But the long-term goal is to build on to my shop. If you recognize in my videos, like the front side of my shop, which is the side of my yard, I have a lot of space there, that's just yard. And really what I would love to do in the future is to build on to the front of the shop and extend it forward, say at least another 50 foot. My shop is 50 foot from end to end, and I would love to take it the same width of where my shop and that slab outside is, which is 30 foot, and make another 30 wide by 50 foot long section of shop. And I don't know if that would be like a brick and mortar type shop or have a metal building put up, but I'm leaning towards probably like a metal building built right there. I know that right now is not the time for it. I couldn't do it right now, but I want to get with some contractors later and have some estimates done on what it would cost me to build onto the shop. And that is something that I've thought about a lot, that I would like to do there, is to build onto the shop and add to it. Right now, I'm just kind of content with what I have, and I can get a lot done in there, but I definitely would like more room. I would love to eventually one day have a bigger lathe again. Something like what we had before that will swing, you know, about 30 inches with at least a 12-foot center-to-center bed length. That right there gives you a lot of capability with repair work out there. But I would like to have something like that, a bigger lathe and a small forklift for material handling, and a big automatic surface grinder would be cool. And also I would love to have a CNC plasma table for burnouts. So those are some of my wish list items out there, but building onto a shop is going to be very expensive. You know, it's a lot of money for that. So I'm just trying to plan ahead for that, and hopefully in the future I can do something like that. I do have some other immediate plans that I plan on doing around my property. I have an older house, so it's needing some repairs done, so I'm having to deal with that. I'm having to do some floor work in there. I've got some sections around the outside of the house where wood is needing to be replaced. I need to paint it. I've got just general repairs that need to be done that I'm always trying to handle around there. So those are some of the things that I have to take care of. We just did the carport and got that done because of the car here. And something else, there's a couple other things that I'm planning on doing. I want to build an actual garage, and I want to put that behind my house. I know you see out there when I'm outside, I got that whole big backyard right there. I'd like to build a garage behind the house that faces my shop, something plenty big enough for 2 vehicles to go in, such as the car and probably my truck, and maybe have enough room there for some storage. So that's something that I want to do, is build a garage out there. Also, on the back side of my house, I want to pour a slab there too for a patio, and have another little cover built, an awning coming off of the side of the house. Probably just one of those little metal awnings that I see other people put up, and have a back patio there for the socials and barbecues and things like that, and get that off of the slab out there that's actually next to the shop. So those are a couple of things that I'd like to do. If I do get to build a garage in the back of the house there, I've been mentioning this in comments that I'm going to tear down the old shed, and all that where the carport is, I want to have concrete poured all the way through there, and that'll be a driveway going to the backyard right there. So those are some of the more immediate plans, and then later on in the future, I would like to build onto the shop. So another question was, what would I recommend as far as a mill and a lathe for a beginner, somebody trying to get into metalworking? I would suggest, as far as a lathe goes, there's a lot of good lathes out there, a lot of good used lathes. I don't particularly myself want to have something like a South Bend or a flat belt pulley lathe of that nature. I like a gearhead lathe, something more of an industrial quality that you can take some good cuts on. So that's the kind of machines that I would actually prefer if I was looking for something. But there's a lot of good older machines out there. The Taiwanese machines are still good. You know, like my lathe is a Victor. It's made in Taiwan. It's a good quality industrial machine. But there's some other ones out there too that people enjoy. I've never run a Grizzly machine, but I know that they're very popular and they're very cost effective. You know, they don't break the bank if you're looking for a good used lathe, or even if you're going to buy a new one. But something along that lines. I don't know which models of the Grizzly are made in China versus the ones that are made in Taiwan, but I always try to recommend, if you're going to go with something like that, something made in Taiwan seems to be a better quality. But I just don't have a whole lot of experience with those imported machines like that. I do see a difference in some of the ones I run that's made in China, though. But there's a lot of good old iron out there too. You know, definitely look at some of the old South Bends, LeBlancs, Monarchs. There's a lot of good machines out there, and I'm always seeing guys pick up really good deals. You know, $1,500 for a nice size machine. It's not a bad deal at all, especially if it's in good working condition. It's not broke or just slap wore out. If it's something that just needs a few minor fixes here and there, minor fixes. Now, not like gearbox tore up, feed rods twisted in half and broke, but just minor things. You know, something that you can just clean up and use, especially for hobby work. You know, things that you're not trying to use it to make a living off of. So plenty of good old machines out there. You just gotta look for them, and just don't buy a project. If you're looking for something to stick in your shop and start learning how to turn and thread on, you know, get something that's in good working condition. As far as a milling machine, I always recommend the tried and true Bridgeport. There's nothing wrong with step pulleys. I have a step pulley machine. Variable speed head is excellent just as well, but just a small Series 1 Bridgeport with a 9x42 table, or even a 9x36 table. At the minimum, you'd want a servo or power feed on the x-axis. That's usually your main travel when you're milling. So at least have a servo on that. Helps out a lot. You don't have to have it, but that really helps out whenever you're power feeding and doing some milling and things like that. If you're looking at some of the smaller machines, say like a bench top type of milling machine, go with make sure you always go with like an R8 spindle is what I would recommend. An R8 spindle, that's going to kind of give you the another bang for your buck there. Tooling is very easy to find. It's all over the place. You know, you can hold a lot of different 3/4 shank tools. You can get in mill holders for it, you know, face mills. So a small Bridgeport or an import copy, something like that. Mine's a do-all, so you can look for those, and there's all kind of machines out there. So you can usually find a good used Bridgeport or Bridgeport type machine for around $2,000. I see them go for less than that. I see them go for more than that. 2,000 just seems to be sort of like a nice average number for a good used machine that's not tore up, that you could put right to work, hook up, and start making chips with. Made a little further north. I'm now through Tallahassee. I'm actually all the way up in Georgia. I'm in Thomasville, Georgia, just north of it. Real pretty country out here. There's a lot of good scenery along this drive. It's just really nice up this way. So been riding with the sunroof open, and the sun's finally out, burnt all the fog, and just a real pretty ride. It is 71 degrees outside, and everything's great. So I close up the sunroof because it'd probably make the video really hard to hear if it's open. So I was back there at the I stopped a little while back, and I was going to point something out. So I'm not somebody that drinks energy drinks. Very rarely do I drink an energy drink, but I picked up one of these, man. It's a Monster Java Monster coffee energy drink. That's the first time I had one. This is the salted caramel. This thing is good. Excellent. I've only got a little bit left. I might have to get me another one later. It was really good. So anyway, I was kind of excited about that because I didn't know what to expect, but it was a good drink. So there's been a couple other questions on the Facebook page, and I was going to try to answer those. One question, somebody asked me about an angle plate that they're making, and how do they know that it's perfectly square when they put it in their mill vise. So there's a little bit that's maybe I'm not fully understanding on what you're doing, the way you worded it, but there's a couple tips there that maybe I can give you that might help. For one, if you want to check to make sure it's perfectly 90 degrees, use an indicator. If you're needing to check a vertical surface, just put an indicator in your spindle and check it up and down to make sure that it's square. And you might have to do some shimming or bumping to get it square. Also, if you need to make sure that you have a perfectly 90 edge and you're just milling it, you know, we're talking about milling, not grinding or anything ultra precision. You might just want to bolt it to the table and make sure that it's, you know, that way if it's bolted to the table, you know that you got a nice 90 degree edge there, even if you go in there and you machine it. So just, your indicators are your friends. Use those. Get the thing indicated in. You might have to shim it or bump it around as needed to get it there, and do your machining that way. So I don't know if that really answered your question or not, but I don't know exactly what you were doing with it there. There was another question about my smoker, where we rely on that. I still haven't started the smoker project, but it is something that I'm wanting to do. It's looking like it's going to be more of a maybe towards springtime project. But I'm hoping to get it done by summertime because I'd like to use it and do some smoking on it. I'm still planning on getting my brother in on it to help out with some of the fab and welding. So it's coming. I'm not in no hurry for it, but it is something that I want to do. So hopefully it'll be pretty soon. And I think that was the only other two questions. Seemed like there was another one. that I'm missing there. Oh, somebody wanted to know the status of the revolving t-shirt campaigns. I'm still waiting on T-Blaster. They're still working on my storefront, and it was supposed to be early this year. Hopefully that's coming real soon. I need to go ahead and follow up with them again, because it's been a few weeks since I've emailed them, and I need to find out what's going on with that, and maybe see if maybe we can get sort of like a timeline on when that's going to happen. That's going to be a storefront to where it's, instead of a campaign every time, it's just going to be a place where anybody can go at any time and purchase a t-shirt, and it's a basically click and print deal. You buy a shirt, they print it, they send it to you. So that'll be really nice for all of the past t-shirts that we've been doing out there. And I do have the new design that I've been holding on to for a while that I'm hoping to come out with. It's a nice looking building right there. I do have a new design that I'd like to come out with really soon and get out there. So hopefully we'll have us another t-shirt campaign. Maybe February we'll get one kicked off. Been trying to get a spot where I can maybe open her up just a bit for you on camera. We'll roll on second. Nah, we'll go to first.